Hello, my name is Captain Andrew.
I am Sonic. I am Supersonic. Hello, Snoopy Doggy Doggy. Ha ha ha.
Why does the human eye have a nerve connecting it directly to the anus?
It doesn't.
It does, because when you pick your bum, you sort of go like that.
You go Santa sleigh, bring the gifts. 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 From the top.
The booty is where the doo-doo is, boy. Put there by God, that's the garbage can. So how you get so messed up with this white boy? You think the bigger the booty, the finer it is. That's like going to Kmart. You see a big old garbage can, that's the filth. And now we can convince her she walks switching that big old booty and all that. It ain't nothing but doo-doo in there.
I mean, what if I told you that the majority of Congress right now is Chinese, and that 90-something% of the porn industry is controlled by the Chinese, and that almost every major feminist leader is Chinese, and that almost every single gun control law that's been put into place was put in place by a Chinese politician? Wouldn't you be like, holy shit, are these motherfuckers trying to take us over? I think so. I think we got to do something about the Chinese now. Yeah, sure, that's the conclusion. Duh. Okay, fine. Let's go fucking hunt these fuckers down and get them out of our fucking country, right? Simple. Okay. But as soon as I say Jew...
I take it you're the problem of the population explosion.
We just passed the 200 million mark ourselves, as you remember last week, and I am told that within 38 years we will have another 100 million here. And the figure for the world is roughly doubling by the end of this century, a figure approaching 7 billion in the world as a whole. Family planning, population control as a negative force. My own belief, and it's a very strong belief, is that it's just the opposite, that population stabilization means the enrichment of life for people. It means the quality of life for them can be greatly raised and improved. Or to put it in human terms, to me the problem comes back to human dignity, to the attainment of each individual of self-fulfillment, and that those will only be fully possible if family planning is carried out on a worldwide basis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rockefeller.
The negative impact of population growth on all of our planetary ecosystems is becoming appallingly evident.
I know it's heartbreaking. You should be heartbroken. That means your heart is working. If you're heartbroken and it's distressing, that means that you are sane. You are a functioning individual. If you are uncomfortable and you're maladjusted to a sick society, it means that you are healthy. I am mourning for all of us, but also I can't embrace despair, even though it sometimes feels very attractive and sensible to do so.
I need you to make this poisonous chemical legal in America.
I can't do it.
Yes, you can. You're the FDA.
We both know that ingredient is poisonous to the human mind.
It may be poisonous and cause tumors, but it saves me money. I can use a healthier ingredient, but it's more expensive.
So just spend the extra money.
But why would I spend more money keeping people healthy when I could spend less? I want to make $2 billion, not 1.7.
You would rather poison millions of people than just spend the extra money to have the same product but not hurt anybody?
They would do the same thing to me if we switched places. Yes. Let me just show you the power of glyphosate. Here's an apple from the UK. Okay?
Okay.
This apple has no additives, no chemicals, and is straight from nature. What do you think?
Oh.
Not bad?
Yeah, it looks healthy.
Okay, here's an apple, aka a Monsanto, grown in America.
Oh.
Not bad, right?
What's wrong with this one?
Nothing. We just treated it with antibiotics, roaches, oil from a train, McDonald's grease.
Wait, whoa. I thought the preservatives and harmful chemicals are supposed to make it last longer.
It is. That apple's 10 years old. The previous one was picked 4 days ago.
This apple's
It's amazing it still lasts. Go ahead and take a bite. It won't hurt.
You can't sell this to nobody.
Sir, do you not see the shine?
I see the shine.
Cockroach skin. You brush it on there to make it look edible.
Oh my God.
This is how we sell all fruits in America.
I would never allow
you to spread this type of chemicals onto the human population in America. We've already formed a deal with pharmaceutical companies actually poison Americans. I'm going to report. Now here's your cut. $600,000 a year just to prove every chemical we send you. We got a deal? Yeah, both the albums look the same to me. You're good to go. Now it's time to sell it to the poor people!
There are many people in America today who believe that there's no law that requires them to pay an income tax or file a 1040. And there are many people going to jail for it, fighting over it.
The Internal Revenue Code is authorized by the 16th Amendment.
What does voluntary compliance mean?
And why does the IRS code say it's voluntary to comply, not mandatory?
That's a word euphemism we use. We use voluntary compliance when we talk about traffic signals.
Traffic laws state that it is mandatory to stop at a red light. The IRS code says it's voluntary to comply. Yet he wants us to believe that they mean the same thing.
So can the government criminally prosecute somebody of information put on their 1040?
Yes.
Right, so doesn't that violate the Fifth Amendment?
No.
But the Fifth Amendment says I don't have to do anything that incriminates myself.
Well, it doesn't incriminate you to put your income down.
But you said before I could be put in jail for it.
The commissioner wants us to believe that although the IRS demands that you fill out the 1040 and you can go to jail for it, that they are not violating your Fifth Amendment rights of self-incrimination.
I believe that a man's labor is his private property.
That's your view, but it's not the law.
All they need to do, if there is a law, is to show us the law, which, of course, they never did.
And the reason they didn't do it was why?
Because there is no law.
9/11 at night until 9/11 in the morning. You see the pulse going from the east to the west coast. All right, boom, you see that? Those are NEXRAD stations. Each of those towers are 750 kilowatts, pumping out between 2.7 to 2.9 gigahertz in the microwave range. This is roughly the same frequency as your microwave oven, and it has the same cause and effect relationship. This was 12 hours long that they held this pulse while we slept. And look at all the other anomalies that are happening here on the screen. Look at what's going on in Texas. All right, you see that big blast? Looks like a giant laser, doesn't it? Boom, see that? And then it gets obscured by the towers. Now they can add the Doppler towers with this. NEXRAD has like 159, Doppler has 160. Now you can consider the HARP stations. There's 33 of those, but they don't show up on this satellite. This covers the microwave.
Global reports of unusual lingering fog align eerily with a 1996 U.S. Air Force plan to control the including fog as a military strategy by the year, get this, 2025. The document titled As a Force Multiplier, Owning the in 2025 outlines cutting-edge technologies to manipulate phenomena for battlefield advantage, with fog manipulation taking center stage. The report highlights methods to dissipate fog and also create it. Lasers and microwave systems. Okay, that's it. Where's my hat? Lasers and microwave systems have demonstrated the ability to clear fog in seconds. Beyond dissipation, the report explores creating artificial fog. Field tests proved artificial fog's effectiveness in blocking ultraviolet, infrared, and general sunlight over large areas. The Air Force's vision extends to manipulation and artificial creation using nanotechnology and autonomous UAVs. Given the countless patents on this technology, this specific report proves oddly related to 2025's fog rollout, especially given reports of microwave and laser use.
Man, what's the craziest thing I've seen about me on the internet? The drawings that they make, like, whoever made that drawing, like, man, I'll break your fingers, dog, on the set. Like, if I see you in person, like, you wouldn't do that. Like, I'll make a drawing about you and your mom, like, and you wouldn't like that either.
Second most toxic thing in your house is a microwave oven. I would say a cordless phone is number one, followed by a close second, the microwave oven. Because remember, you're only getting radiation on the microwave oven when you turn it on. The cordless phone is 24/7. I have never tested a microwave oven that did not emit significant amounts of radiation. Because the seals, when you keep opening the door, the seals get disrupted and that radiation leaks out when you're cooking. The worst thing in the world is when a young child looks inside a microwave oven when the radiation is going on. I mean, it's absolutely horrendous. I showed sensors next to a microwave oven, and the sensors go off the chart. And just being near a microwave oven, not a good thing to have in your house. Not a good thing to cook food with, warm food with, boil water with.
But go ahead, to each his own, dog. All publicity is good publicity, I guess. You're talking about me, but I don't like them drawings either. Like, I want to know who the f***'s making them, so I could tell them, like, hey, dog, that shit is out.
Hey, look. Have you ever fought for life in LA County Jail? You know what it feel like sitting not getting no mail?
They tried to tell you that how they starved the original people of the Americas is by killing all the buffalo, but they never taught you about all the native fruit trees that they chopped down, burned, or killed off with their invasive species that they introduced to the land. All around the world you'll find large exotic-looking fruit, like this jackfruit in Asia, this cacao in South America, kiwano melon in Africa, the durian in Asia. All the US has that resembles a tropical fruit is just the pawpaw fruit. And as you can read here, it's one that is not commonly known. And that is all by design. See, way back in the days, they used to live in them and give some of the most exotic fruit that you'll ever see. I've had visions of fruit that was even glowing. And that is why they make all the trees male. They don't want us eating off of the land. They want us dependent on them.
Now, if one of us opened a store in China, I doubt if we'd get one customer. Open a store in India, I doubt if you could get one customer. In Korea, I doubt if you could get one customer. Same thing in Arabia. Then why are Koreans, Chinese, Vietnamese, and East Indians running stores in your community and making profit? And why not you? And the main thing is the lack of self-confidence. Confidence in yourself. There's no miracle about putting a store together. There's no miracle about buying. There's no miracle about bargaining. And that the man that's doing it is less intelligent than you, in many cases, less training than you, in many cases. So if he's doing it, chances are you can do it better.
Watch this. When you spell the word potato, it's spelled like that. But when you say potatoes, the E comes out of nowhere. Same thing with the word tomato. It's spelled like that. But when you do it in plural, tomatoes, there's a random E. Keeps popping up. I don't know. So I did what y'all tell me to do, because y'all yell at me, Premium, why do you keep asking us? Why don't you ask Jeeves? Why don't you ask Google? Why don't you ask AI? Figure it out yourself. That's what I did. I started Googling. I started doing research. They said when a consonant comes right before a vowel, the ES got to go at the end. That's the rules of the language of English. I said, you almost got me. Because that's not the rules for all words. Because you got words like photo. There's no ES for that. It's just photos. Solo, ego, piano, avocado. It's just an S, no ES. Even the word tornado. There's an ES at the end for no reason. Tornado and avocado are borrowed from the same language, but one has an ES and one doesn't. Listen, I know that I'm funny sometimes, all right? And y'all kiki, laugh, all the time with me, even though I'll be trying to tell y'all stuff with my eyes in my eyebrow area, okay? Listen to what I'm saying, okay? If the language that you are learning everything in, the language that you learn, the language that you speak, the language that you understand, right, is inconsistent with its own rules, and it's teaching you everything else in that same language that's inconsistent with its own rules, what else do you think is inconsistent? What else? I'm trying to tell y'all something without them, all I'm saying is what else could be inconsistent? It could be history. It could be math. It could be medicine. It could be anything. If you were around during the 1990s, there was a drug called fen-phen. It was made to, it was like a diet pill to help you lose that weight. There was no side effects. You good. Then they started finding out people was having heart attacks. People were dying. Now it's 2025 and everybody's on Ozempic. They just think it's no side effects. Everything's good. We'll figure out in 20 years. All I'm saying is there's inconsistencies in things. You got to start paying attention. Like history. If I'm teaching you history in English and the history didn't happen in English, what do you think could happen to the information I'm relaying to you? Listen, all I'm trying to get to you is stop following the rules. Stop following the rules. Stop following the rules.
You know, I've really got to get me one of these fireproof passports. For those who don't know, on January 1st, a man blew up a Tesla Cybertruck in front of the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Police identified Matthew Allen Livelsberger as the man burned alive in the Tesla Cybertruck because they found his passport. That's right. They found his passport completely intact. You guys, the inside of this Tesla Cybertruck was completely gone. I mean, burned to a crisp. Police were even reporting that the body was burned beyond recognition.
His body is burnt beyond recognition.
But his passport is still intact and actually legible? This kind of reminds me of 9/11, where multiple hijackers' passports were found even miles away from the Twin Towers. There's websites claiming that at least 4 hijackers' passports were at least whole or partially intact. Now, what I find the most interesting about this Cybertruck thing is that the guy's passport expires 911 days from the day of the explosion. So you have 9/11 where the hijackers' passports are still intact after the attack, and now you have this Tesla Cybertruck where the man inside is burned to a crisp beyond recognition, but his passport is still intact. Something is not right here, everybody.
But this is a NASA technical manual. MIT, the Army Research Laboratory, flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Flat Earth with a flat Earth assumption. Non-rotating flat Earth. A flat, non-rotating Earth may be assumed. A flat and non-rotating, assuming a flat Earth. Flat, non-rotating Earth. A non-rotating Earth. Flat, non-rotating Earth. Validity of flat Earth based on a flat Earth assumption for a flat Earth and a flat atmosphere. Flat, non-rotating Earth. The flat Earth model. Propagation of electromagnetic fields over flat Earth. Ballistic vehicle motion. A closed-form solution is developed for the motion of a ballistic vehicle entering the atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. The assumption of these equations assume a flat Earth.
All right, next. They weren't in a green screen studio. That's what I'm trying to tell people. It's worse than that.
Clouds can only form if the Earth is flat. Want to know where I learned that from? The home experiment section on the JPL website. First step is warm water in a jar and stir it around. Then you light a match and drop it in the water. And you quickly place an ice-filled metal tray or hard plastic frozen ice pack on top of the jar. And here's where they directly talk about the firmament. Observe the inside of the jar carefully. A misty cloud should appear near the top of the jar. Why does this happen? The warm water vapor mixes with air and smoke particles. It rises inside the jar and then cools when it comes near the tray of ice. So, of course, I wanted to do a dome-type structure as my frozen lid instead of the flat one that they used. And would you look at that? Mine produces way more clouds than theirs does. They couldn't be talking about the sky ice, could they? Because why would it need an icy lid to make a cloud? And here's the best part. Remove the metal tray or ice pack, What happens? The cloud disappears. It's almost like we'd have no atmosphere if Earth was really in a vacuum of space. The real deal. This exact process occurs naturally in our environment. Who knew? Schmassa and JPL told the truth, but they put it in a random kids project. I honestly never thought about this topic until I was randomly perusing their website, so good stuff.
I mean, the same people who claim to be altruistic and want to help the world for public health, but have been stealing our wealth and making us sicker, are claiming that they care about the environment. They want to save the planet, but they're the ones destroying it. This whole world that we're being pushed into requires so much mining, that they want to dig up essentially all of the Andes in Latin America and major swaths of Africa and make them uninhabitable so they can get all the nickel and cobalt and copper to build their electric vehicles and their AI data centers and all of this stuff. AI data centers and all of that also need a ton of water, as do the mines, and they're trying to privatize all of that stuff right now. That's what carbon markets are. It's privatizing carbon-based life, essentially, and they want to do the same with water and air. And the person that came up with carbon credits used to work for the junk bond scandal-ridden bank, Drexel Burnham Lambert, and he invented financial derivatives, which exploded in 2008 and largely caused the 2008 economic crisis. I mean, again, these are like criminal banker schemes, and they're framing it as they're saving the global commons and saving the planet and saving humanity. They're doing the opposite. We need to be the ones that save the planet and save humanity, and we absolutely can do that. We just have to remember who we are, what humans are meant to do, which is create and, lift each other up. And we need to get rid of these people who are keeping us down and destroying our world.
The basic building blocks of climate engineering are to saturate the atmosphere with electrically conductive light scattering particles and polymers, particles like aluminum, barium, strontium, manganese. These particles are then manipulated with extraordinarily powerful radio frequency microwave transmissions. Transmissions that can heat the upper layers of the atmosphere, like the ionosphere, that are used to create pressure zones that steer upper level wind currents, which then steer weather systems. These particulates, when they are manipulated with these frequencies, can literally move air masses. This is an integral part of climate engineering that is not known or being acknowledged by many. Extraordinarily powerful and dangerous radio frequency microwave transmissions.
Electromagnetic fields are energy sources, and they're going to be interacting with moisture in the air or our bodies or whatever. And therefore, it's not at all surprising that you're going to find some movement in relation to exposure of weather patterns to electromagnetic fields.
A lock and chain secures his old analog meter with a clear notice: attention, do not install smart meter. The retired mechanical engineer says smart meters are dangerous.
The smart meter is not safe for the following reasons. Again, it emits high frequency radio waves. And you don't feel them, you don't know about them, but they penetrate your body and they can cause health problems later on.
Slowinski says the radio waves go through concrete walls.
My bedroom is right next door, and it will emit high frequency waves, so I'm worried about my health and my children's health.
And he has another concern.
They catch fire because there's very high voltage inside.
This fungus is, first, if you want to look at it, it's airborne. It's not a single fiber here and there. It is glowing under UV light. So if you take a UV lamp at night, you can see those fibers airborne. And there are billions of them. Not every night, but every now and then. You can see them fly around. And these fibers, this fungus is infecting the human body. And with 95% or 99% of the people, nothing special happens. They're just embedded somewhere, and your biology is keeping the fungus population low in your body. They just function as a plasmonic antenna to send out a signal, but you don't get sick from it. You don't get ill. No visible symptoms. So we would guess 100% of the population in Europe is infected. It's not a big deal, it's not dangerous, as long as the body can handle these things. Some of the people cannot handle it, And then the mycelium is starting to grow within the body and starting to multiply. And at a certain point, they are extracted via the skin. And you can see that they have this ability to collect colors. You have blue Morgellons and you have red Morgellons.
They filmed particles of what's in this fog, and I have to tell you, this isn't normal. This is actually weird. And if you're experiencing this fog, be very careful and really try not to breathe it in. Take a look at these next 3 videos.
Okay, calling in all reinforcements. Need your help on this one. My friend who lives in East Texas woke up today and this is what was in her pool. Now, she's lived in this property for over 11 years. Never has had anything like this happen before. No, she did not change any chemical regimen in her pool. The only thing that she says that was kind of weird was there was some really odd fog yesterday. But I've tried to look it up too. I can't find anything that would lead to anything like this happening or any reaction with water.
This is a new one. Let me show you what my new one looks like. This is a new one, okay? It's a MERV 11 filter. Now, keep in mind, I just changed this filter like a month ago. Let me show you the one that I'm about to pull out. What? What in the actual fuck? Look at this filter, y'all. I've never pulled out a filter this dark in my life. This is not normal. It's black.
I'm gonna tell you a little story. Cattle, beef, food. A lot of people don't know anything about where it comes from. So, I owned a restaurant for 10 years. Miraculous. I know. I started it with $30 in the bank and a month's worth of food stamps. I don't recommend that business model just for all you entrepreneurs. When it comes to your beef, grass-fed, organic, 99% of it is bullshit. I have my restaurant, sourced everything locally in North Carolina. The biggest organic, grass-fed, supposed like best company in Asheville is called Hickory Nut Gap. I went to a party that we catered for one of my cheese purveyors, local goat cheese. Great times. We cooked like 300 ears of corn and we were all on mushrooms. I never bought the Hickory Nut Gap meat because it was 10 times the cost of any other beef. I ran into the owner of this company. He was drunk. Their farm's way up in the mountains, and I've driven by it many times, and there was never any animals out there, a couple goats. I asked him, hey man, where do y'all keep the cows at? Well, we don't have any cows. How do you sell all this meat? He said, there's a loophole in the laws in North Carolina, probably most states, to get certified organic grass-fed cow. It has to eat grass for 6 weeks. So what they do is they buy cattle from like New Mexico, from desert food lots, where they're standing 2 feet deep in their own shit. They're eating like corn powder with fucking antibiotics and all kinds of shit in it. Super unnatural. They're packed in like sardines, dude. I've seen those kind of farms. It's nuts. They buy those cow at auction, super cheap, skinny ass cows, and then they transport them to whatever state. They stick them on grass in a barn with hay for 6 weeks, and technically it's a local, certified, organic, grass-fed cattle.
What is it gonna take? What is it gonna take for us to listen? I'm like sick to my stomach, okay? I've heard the rumors and I'm guilty of it, taking my kids to go eat at McDonald's, but today took my girls to go get their normal Happy Meals and got a 10-piece for my 6-year-old, and she bit down one of her chicken nuggets and she says that, you know, she hurt her teeth. And so I'm looking at it and I pull this out. She pulls this out. She hands it to me, Kay. And I'm freaking out. Baby, where's your tooth? What happened? How'd you lose a tooth? How did you lose a tooth in your chicken nuggets? It's not her tooth, y'all. This is not my baby's tooth. But this is a baby's tooth. This was someone's baby's tooth. This is disgusting, and this is what we're eating. This is what we're feeding our kids. This is a human tooth. This is a baby tooth, and I say baby no more than 6 years old. This is a tooth. Y'all, this is a baby tooth and we're eating this shit. And you motherfuckers are still gonna go continue to eat from there. Look at this.
Lance and Whitefeather kept motion-activated Arlo cameras on the children, one in the shed on the 14-year-old boy and 16-year-old girl, and one in a room upstairs with no bed, only a tarp floor that stayed on the 9-year-old girl and 11-year-old boy. The video showed a daily routine of waking up early and being forced to stand with hands on head, unable to change or shower, receiving only peanut butter sandwiches to eat before going back to bed on the floor. In the shed, the teens used a camper toilet, holding a sheet up for each other to shield the other from the camera. Lieutenant Pyle said she first began hearing about this in August before the shed discovery, but testified could never quite get a hold of a CPS worker to follow up.
There was a contact made with a worker once, but there was no further contact to coordinate going and making a visit to the residence together.
The jury saw days of video the Arlo camera saved, including the moments deputies busted in the door on the shed on October 2nd. You're okay. The children were turned over to Child Protective Services, and when Lance and Whitefeather got back with two of the children that night, they were later arrested. But that was just the beginning of their charges and the investigation. On Friday, the jury got an inside look at Whitefeather's cell phone. This included text messages between she and Lance where they referred to the kids as monkeys and pigs. Often Lance would describe physical punishment, where he said he, quote, knocked one of them. Lance and Whitefeather kept motion-activated Arlo cameras on the children, one in the shed on the 14-year-old boy and 16-year-old girl, and one in a room upstairs with no bed, only a tarp floor that stayed on the 9-year-old girl and 11-year-old boy. The video showed a daily routine of waking up early and being forced to stand with hands on head, unable to change or shower, receiving only peanut butter sandwiches to eat before going back to bed on the floor. In the shed, the teens used a camper toilet, holding a sheet up for each other to shield the other from the camera. Lieutenant Pyle said she first began hearing about this in August before the shed discovery, but testified could never quite get a hold of a CPS worker to follow up.
There was a contact made with a worker once, but there was no further contact to coordinate going and making a visit to the residence together.
The jury saw days of video the Arlo camera saved, including the moments deputies busted in the door on the shed on October 2nd. You're okay. The children were turned over to Child Protective Services, and when Lance and Whitefeather got back with two of the children that night, they were later arrested. But that was just the beginning of their charges and the investigation. On Friday, the jury got an inside look at Whitefeather's cell phone. This included text messages between she and Lance where they referred to the kids as monkeys and pigs. Often Lance would describe physical punishment, where he said he, quote, knocked one.
What's happening to the white people? They have a Black Miss America. They have a black college. They have a black month. What do we have? And now they have Juneteenth.
One astronaut kicks me. One astronaut threatens to punch me. One astronaut threatens to shoot me. And we even left a hot microphone accidentally in an astronaut's house after he assaulted me. And the camera guy, so, disoriented, he forgets to hit stop recording. So while the astronaut and his son are in their house with the door closed, we're recording the audio by wireless microphone in the back seat of the rental car in the driveway. And they say, word for word, do you want to call the CIA and have them whacked?
You want to call the CIA? Have them whacked?
So like
oh
I
my
said,
goodness!
Yeah,
That
so like
is crazy!
Well, like I said, if I'm some silly person who thinks the moon landings are fake and they really went, why would the CIA be involved? But I have proof that they didn't go. Classified footage and an eyewitness. That's why the CIA is involved. And I go into my book, me being literally kidnapped at the back door of CNN, trying to get somebody the tape by the government, drugging me with truth serum, vomiting, telling them everything they wanted to know, escaping, peeing in a cup, taking it to a lab, and the lab was broken into and my urine sample was stolen. All that is in the book.
So you're saying that there was more between the CIA and you, aside from them saying, should I have that guy whacked after Buzz Aldrin punched you in the face?
Yeah, a lot more.
I met Prince when I was 12.
Where did you meet Prince when you were 12?
In Dayton. After
Really?
he performed at UD Arena. Yeah, I mean, I knew him my whole life. He was like the guiding force for me. It's the reason I had high self-esteem, was a guy that was always 30 steps ahead of whatever the curve was. And, you know, when you play 26, 28 instruments, it means that you are able to be multifaceted.
And when people say that they love you and they respect you, but at the same time take, 80% of your earnings, then expect you to fix your own communities, and they'll probably edit all of this out, but then it gets, that's the sharp part of the sword, and we're at the wrong end of it right now. So eventually, with courageous people going out there and actually saying something and standing up for it, I think we'll get some balance.
In April, Tidal was standing alone as the only streamer to have access to the icon's music. The Prince estate is now suing Jay-Z's Rock Nation for copyright infringement.
It shouldn't be a situation where they own the album or the work. We're talking about intellectual copyright. If they're going to be indeed a delivery service, then that's fine. But even FedEx doesn't say that they own the thing that they ship.
But they're not denying anything, and they're not refuting any of the facts.
Let me talk about some of the major charges. And I just jotted down a few of the. I mean, you're saying, for example, virtually every team owner gambles on football teams?
Well, I'm saying that no fewer than 26 NFL team owners have documented ties, past and present NFL team owners have documented business ties to either the gambling community and or the organized crime syndicate. I'm also saying that no fewer than 70 NFL games have been fixed.
Now that's pretty rough stuff. You're saying no fewer than 70 NFL games have been fixed. You mean the outcome, the point spread, what?
I'm saying the points were shaved and thereby fixed. Yeah.
How does this happen?
Well, I first got into this about 1983. Vincent Persani, who is the head of the Michigan State Attorney General's Office Organized Crime Division, told me, if you're going to do a book about the NFL, Dan, you're going to have to get into this guy, Don Dawson, because he was fixing games. We knew it. I went to my friends and my sources at the Internal Revenue Service, the Organized Crime Intelligence Division. They said Don Dawson was fixing games. I went to the FBI, the Organized Crime and Racketeering Section of the Justice Department, and Strike Force field offices. Everybody told me what Don Dawson was fixing games. At that point, I had enough evidence to print that allegedly Don Dawson was fixing NFL games. He was a major bookmaker in the Midwest. I then went to Dawson, I tracked him down, I jumped through all kinds of hoops to interview him, and when I interviewed him on about the 7th or 8th interview, he admitted to me that he had personally participated in the fixing of no fewer than 32 NFL games.
How does that happen?
He liked to work with the quarterback. He would go to the quarterback would come to him and say, I need some bread. What's the line on the game this week? And the bookmaker would say, you guys are favored by 6 points. And then the reply was, we're not going to cover the spread. And basically that was it.
Now, do you name players?
Oh, sure. I name players. And also in 1979, I go into the specifics of 8 fixed games that were allegedly fixed by 2 referees who were investigated by both the FBI and the IRS. And I list the 8 games on page 308 of the book.
Yeah. Are drugs involved in this at all?
Yeah, drugs are the real variable in all of this. I mean, when a drug dealer has a relationship with a player, there's an extortionate edge to that situation whereby that dealer has that player's career in his hands because of the drug policies within the NFL for throwing a person out. Within the past few years, no fewer than 9 NFL teams have been investigated because their players were receiving drugs from gamblers. Now, I know gamblers who, on principle, refuse to sell drugs, but I'm not aware of many drug dealers who on principle refuse to gamble. And the key here is that the NFL is very aware of the fact, and their worst case scenario is the player who's strung out can't pay his bill to his dealer, and so the dealer comes to him and says, hey, you owe me money, and the dealer says, and the player says, I told you I can't pay it, and the dealer says, that's okay, but
this harkens back to your brilliant book on the California fire. Someone said that there was a bunch of gold in some of these towns that got burnt out.
Up in Paradise is where we find the riches. You know, there's so much gold, there's so much silver. Do you know where the first diamond mines were ever found, Daryl?
Oh, Paradise, California.
In Magalia. And as soon as it was the largest largest diamond mines, and immediately was bought up by the De Beers Company.
So it's not the Congo, it's Paradise, California.
Well, De Beers makes all the fake diamonds. They take all the real diamonds.
Fake. They're
yeah,
fake.
Oh, they're all fake. Yeah, all the diamonds. Sorry, ladies, but all the diamonds. I did a whole video on that. It's fascinating. It's when they went down. De Beers went down to South Africa and got control of the diamond mines. It's also down in Almaden. Silicon Valley was founded because of the red mercury mines. And what we're learning is red mercury, that little red mercury, used to go create all the free energy that all the domes are run on around the world. They all had free energy with the water and the star forts and everything else. California was the paradise. That this land was fecundant. The flora and fauna, they lived with nature. The bears, the elk, the geese, everything was fecundant because the queen was ruling over it. They said originated was Queen Califia, came from this book Esplanandia, when in fact that's not true. But they have all these images of her, and they're actually resurrecting her now.
How did Japan attack Hawaii on a flat earth? Well, simple. There's your map. Take a look, because right now we're about to look at flight paths and why they make no sense on a globe. Auckland to Lima, Peru, stops in Los Angeles. Why? Makes sense on a flat earth. Buenos Aires to New Delhi, stops in Amsterdam. Makes no sense on a globe. Perfect sense on a flat earth. Here we have Sydney to Lima, Peru, which stops in Los Angeles. On a globe, it makes zero sense. But on a flat earth, it looks like it makes sense. Let's take a look at Wellington to Lima, which stops in Los Angeles. Again, makes zero sense on a globe, but perfect sense on a flat earth. Now let's look at Wellington to Mexico City, which stops in Los Angeles. On a flat earth, it makes a lot of sense. Look at that. You got Wellington to Los Angeles, and then you go to Mexico City. Perfect sense. Now on the globe model, we have what looks like the most ridiculous. What's happening? Why would this ever happen? That would not be a flight path. It makes no sense. But again, this is all my opinion. I recommend everyone does their own research and comes to their own conclusions.
Completely relax.
You know, the international aspect of the space station, I think that's incredible.
Question?
And second, I was wondering if there anything that would come out of
We hear you loud and clear, sir. Welcome to the space station.
Well, I think it looks so ridiculous and impossible. And you can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly.
Child support actually told on themselves. They say that it's in the best interest of the child, but they were getting sued by these 5 women in Arizona because their children were receiving public assistance, and they went after the fathers for child support. The money that they were collecting, the women were only getting a small portion of it. So they sued child support and said, hey, y'all keeping all our money. Child support said, no, no, no. Child support was never intended to benefit the child nor the custodial parent. The Supreme Court agreed. It's a historic case law. It's called Blessing versus Freestone, where child support told on themselves and said that it was never intended to benefit the child nor the custodial parent. It was intended to benefit the state because the states receive an incentive. They get a kickback based on their performance of collecting child support, putting people on child support, the arrears that they collect. Is it 42 USC 658A, the incentive payments? They receive over $500 million a year annually, just in bonuses. This ain't got nothing to do with nothing, just based on your performance. Wow. This is not my opinion, this is fact.